Thank you, Chair. Ms Foster, you were leaning forward like you had an update or something? Please.
So the first, Senator, I talked about the meeting earlier this year between the Minister and Save the Children.
Yes.
That I was present at. There was actually a second meeting in the May-June timeframe, which a departmental officer was a note taker at.
Pardon me, start again.
Which had a departmental officer
yes.
as a note taker, not in any senior or advisory role. And in fact, the date of that was the 13th of June.
Right.
But the content, which obviously is for the Minister to cover, was the same.
Well, except that there was a member of the department there.
Yeah. So to be clear, the Minister has had 2 meetings
Right.
with Save the Children about their request to repatriate a broader group of women and children to Australia. On both, one meeting was before the election, one was after the election. Both occasions there was a departmental representative present, and both occasions the Minister said that we would not be repatriating and not fulfilling that request.
Thank you. And Ms Foster, you have another update?
The second was just for Senator Shoebridge, when I said that questions on notice 5 and 6 from 25 were sent to the Minister's office on the 19th of June. It was actually the 20th of June, just to correct the record.
Okay, let's go back to these now 2 meetings between Save the Children and the Minister. One was before the election. Do we have a date of that meeting?
I don't, but I'm sure I can get that for you.
Thank you.
I don't know if the department has that.
I don't have it to hand, sorry.
Right, and that was the meeting that you were present at, Ms Foster?
That's correct.
And was there also a note taker from the department present at this meeting, or just yourself?
Just myself. The second meeting was in Sydney, which is why we sent a staff who works in the Sydney office as a note taker.
Right. So who took notes from the first meeting?
To the extent that there were notes, Senator, it would have been either me or the Minister's staff.
Okay. Well, do you have any notes from the first meeting?
I'll have to check that, Senator.
Okay. I'd be grateful if you could. So the Minister has said that that meeting was to request the government repatriate people from Syria, and that the Minister said no. Was any other means of these people returning to Australia discussed at that meeting, to the best of your recollection, Ms Foster?
Sorry, Senator, was any other?
Means of these people returning to Australia discussed?
Not to my recollection, no.
Right, so it wasn't discussed that Save the Children might facilitate their return instead of repatriation?
Not to my memory, Senator, no.
And it wasn't discussed that these people may find their own way home without repatriation?
Not to my memory, Senator, no.
Were any questions asked of how the department would deal with a citizenship by descent application?
Senator, I don't recall any detail other than the broad context that Senator Murray has given you.
Right. So you can't tell me whether or not facilitation of a citizenship by descent application was canvassed in that meeting?
Not to my recollection, Senator.
Were any obstacles to this cohort returning discussed at the meeting?
Not to my knowledge, Senator. Not to my recollection.
Right, so Save the Children made their pitch. We think these people should come home. We think the government should repatriate them. Why did the Minister say that the government would not repatriate them?
I'd have to take that on notice. I don't know what reason was given.
Happily, we don't need to rely on you taking on notice because Ms Foster was there. So Ms Foster, what did the Minister say to Save the Children to explain why the government would not be facilitating repatriation?
Senator, I just indicated I don't recall any particular detail being discussed. I just remember the broad thrust, which is as Minister Watt has described.
I think the other thing it's worth, I'm sure you know this, Senator Patterson, but not everyone would. This obviously followed a number of court cases that Save the Children had brought against the government with the intention of facilitating a repatriation as well.
Yes, I know it's slightly unusual for a government minister to meet someone who's suing them.
Well, I'm not sure of the dates of the meetings and whether they were before or after the resolution of that litigation.
It was after.
It was after.
Yeah. So, Ms Foster, again, could you answer why did the minister say the government would not facilitate repatriation at this meeting?
Senator, I simply recall what Senator Watt has conveyed to you, which was that he was clear that the government would not repatriate.
Did the minister articulate reasons?
Not to my recollection, Senator.
Really? So, I mean, it would have been a very short meeting then. Can you please bring these people home? No. Was that like a 2-minute meeting, or did it go on for longer than that?
Senator, I genuinely can't recall any detail around reasons given or any other options discussed.
Well, the minister was able to, before, tell me exactly what happened at this meeting, so perhaps the minister can seek that information from the minister's office and turn it around as quickly as you did before. Ms Foster, do you have access to your notes from this meeting?
Not easily, Senator,
Why is that?
because I'd have to establish which date, find out which notebook and check that there were notes.
Right, so it wouldn't be an electronic note, it would be a handwritten note?
If I took a note, it would be, Senator.
Do any of your staff have access to those documents?
Senator, I think it would be very difficult for them to find that. I think I would need to go back through and look for those.
Okay, can I ask you on notice to produce a copy of any notes that you made in that meeting?
I can certainly take that on notice, Senator.
Thank you. So there was a second meeting, which was on the 13th of June, between the Minister and Save the Children, and a departmental note taker attended. Was there anyone else from the department at that meeting?
Not to my knowledge, Senator. I think it was just the one officer.
Okay, does anyone at the table have any contrary knowledge? No. Is the note taker someone who's a relatively junior official, or is it someone who might be here today?
No, it's a relatively junior official who's not here today.
Okay, and when you send a note taker to a meeting like this, what happens with those notes?
Senator, the short answer is I'm not sure of the process that happened at that meeting, and I will take that on notice and let you know.
What's the usual process? Are notes of that meeting normally shared with you as Secretary or shared with any of your senior colleagues?
I think it would be very much dependent, Senator, on the meeting, the content of the meeting.
Mr Hansford or Ms Smythe, have you seen notes from this meeting?
Senator, I believe that there is a record, but we can take on notice that question.
I'm just asking whether you've seen them or not, whether you've read them at any time.
I personally haven't.
And what about you, Ms Smythe?
I'm aware there is a record of the meeting, Senator.
Okay, and have you read the record of the meeting?
I have, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps you can assist us. What was discussed at the meeting?
Oh, I don't have the correspondence in front of me.
I know, I'm asking you to rely on your memory from having read the notes taken by a Home Affairs official that was shared with you of the meeting. What was discussed at the meeting?
It would be consistent also with the meeting the Secretary attended. My understanding and recollection is that it was a reiteration of the decision not to repatriate.
Right. Was any other alternative means of return to Australia discussed at this meeting?
I don't recall from the correspondence, Senator.
Okay. Do you know whether the departmental official at this meeting was asked to leave the meeting at any point?
I'm not aware, Senator.
You don't know whether the minister had a private discussion with Save the Children without the official present?
I wasn't at the meeting, Senator.
I know, but is it reflected in the notes of the meeting?
Again, Senator, I can't recall all of the content of the outcomes.
Can the minutes of or the notes of this meeting be located and provided?
We can take that on notice.
Is it something that's stored electronically? Is it something that someone can look for right now?
We'll take on notice, Senator, the form and what we can do.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you doing that. But could you just explain, presumably, if a note taker in Sydney attended this meeting and provided those notes to the department, which Ms Smythe has read, you would remember, Ms Smythe, what form that those notes were in. Was it a notepad? Was it an email? Was it some other record?
It was an email, Senator.
Okay, so it is stored electronically, and it should be easily able to be obtained then.
Well, for starters, the officials have taken that on notice already, and secondly, it is likely to be necessary to review that record to determine whether it's appropriate to be tabled. So it's been taken on notice and it will be answered.
There seems to be quite a bit of sensitivity about the record of this meeting. I've had to ask. Sorry, Minister, can I finish my question? I'm happy to hear your answer when I've finished it. There seems to be quite a bit of sensitivity about the record of this meeting. I've had to ask several questions to several officers before we've got to the fact that, yes, there's a record of the meeting, yes, it has been read by someone, yes, it is stored electronically.
They're answering the questions that you're asking. If you've received an answer to every question that you've asked.
I think anyone independently observing this would recognise that this has been like pulling teeth to get this information.
I don't think so. I've had a lot worse experiences on that side of the table trying to get information out.
Well, then you'll be empathetic to my experience, Minister. So can someone please explain to me why there's the sensitivity around this meeting and these notes?
There's not, where people are just answering questions that you're asking and taking a moment to think about their answers because they either haven't seen the records or they haven't seen them for a while. Like it's just normal answering of questions.
Okay. I'd be grateful if they could be provided on notice as well as my other questions about the meeting answered on notice. Are these the only two occasions the Minister's met with Save the Children?
That's my understanding.
About this cohort?
Yes.
I'm excluding other unrelated meetings.
And yes, that's my understanding, but as I've mentioned, my understanding is that the meetings were not about this particular cohort, this particular 6 people. It was a broader request.
Sure, about repatriation, I understand. Has the Minister's office met with Save the Children separate to the Minister at any time?
I'd have to take that on notice because I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Does the department have any visibility of engagement with Save the Children and the Minister's office?
No, Senator.
Okay. And has the department met with Save the Children on any occasion other than these 2 occasions where you are present in relation to repatriations from Syria?
I have not, Senator. I'm conscious that obviously there was a process of litigation, and I don't know whether that involved any meetings of officers, but I will certainly take on notice and ask if any of my staff have had meetings that I was not involved in or not aware of.
Sure. Mr Hansford or Ms Smythe, have either of you met with Save the Children?
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
Okay, thank you. And are you aware of anyone in your team having met with them?
No, Senator.
No, Senator.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll have to wait until we get back on notice what contact the Minister's office has had with Save the Children, and for the avoidance of doubt, by meeting, I'm also interested in electronic meetings, phone calls, that kind of contact, and any correspondence relating to this matter with Save the Children, please, on notice.
Your efficiency, Senator Hanson. Senator Patterson.
Thanks, Chair. If the Minister was categorical with Save the Children at their first meeting that the government wouldn't be repatriating these people, why was a second meeting necessary?
I think Save the Children have demonstrated they are pretty determined to see some of these women and children repatriated to Australia. They've, undertaken multiple court cases. So I don't think it's a surprise that they have sought and had more than one meeting with the Minister about this. By the way, we've established the dates of the meetings.
Thank you, that'd be helpful.
We were sort of doing our best to remember earlier. So the first meeting occurred on the 9th of October 2024 in Parliament House.
Yep.
And the second meeting happened on the 13th of June 2025 in Sydney.
Thanks. No doubt you're right, Minister, that Save the Children are a determined stakeholder who would like to continue to press their case even after the Minister gave them a clear answer. But we all have lots of determined stakeholders who like to have lots of meetings. We don't have to say yes. Why did the Minister agree to a second meeting to discuss the same issue if the government's position was clear and not up for changing? Did he really have a second meeting just to tell them no again?
I can think of many stakeholders who I have decided to meet to repeatedly give the same message. It's common courtesy.
really? It's common courtesy to say, no, we're not interested in what you're going to do a second time. Isn't it just a waste of their time? If the answer's no both times, why would you meet a second time?
I've had a number of stakeholders in portfolios that I've held that have wanted to come back and meet me again and hope to change my mind on something, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Sure. So was the minister open to changing his mind in a second meeting?
I think it's pretty clear that he wasn't. We've resisted the court cases that Save the Children have brought, and twice now the minister has told Save the Children that we're not willing to repatriate this group.
So that's your evidence. At both meetings, the minister was utterly categorical, did not leave open the door to repatriation or facilitation in any other way of these people returning from Australia.
My understanding, as we've said before, is that the minister on both occasions told Save the Children that he was not willing to agree to their request to repatriate or any of the women and children they were advocating for.
Or facilitate their return by any other means?
You asked those questions earlier. I've forgotten what the answers were that you were given, but
I wasn't really.
Those answers.
So I don't hold it against you for forgetting. There wasn't really an answer.
You asked a number of questions about variations on that theme, and
I have no answers about what was discussed at the second meeting. None.
Well, I think we've already said. I think we've already answered that question.
No, actually, I've just taken on notice. I don't know what was discussed.
Okay, well, I'll take it on notice.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful. In the Age article this week, it reported that there are 37 Australian citizens, including 25 children, in the Al Roj camp in Syria. And the article quotes a federal government spokesman, where they say they've ruled out any planned repatriation of these people, saying they'll only be accepted into Australia if they escape and find their own way to return. So is it the Australian government's position that there will be no further repatriation of any Australian citizens from Al Roj?
Well, what I can say is what I said earlier, which is that the minister has made clear to Save the Children, an organisation who's been very focused on repatriations, that we won't be supporting that.
So, I mean,
I probably can't go beyond that, but that's...
So the government doesn't have a kind of holistic policy on repatriation, it's just this specific instance that they're opposed to?
No, I've said several times that the request from Save the Children was for a broader group than just the particular six people.
Yes, so, I understand that.
And we've said no, we're not going to be doing that.
Yep, so the government has a policy of no repatriations from Al Roj.
Let me see if I can get some clarification beyond what I've just said.
Okay. Secretary, are you aware? Has the minister made it clear to you what the government's policy is?
So, Senator, my understanding is that there is no intent to repatriate people in Syria.
Okay, thank you. Given that the quote from a federal government spokesman allowed for the possibility that people would find their own way to return, does that mean the government would not take steps to prevent people from returning if they think they're a risk?
So, Senator, I think it goes back to our earlier evidence. We have obligations under our acts to process particular applications from people who are eligible for that, for the provision of that right. That is part of the process that's undertaken. The other part is the monitoring and assessment that Minister Watt spoke of earlier, which allows the intelligence, security, law enforcement agencies to form a view about the risks that those people pose should they meet the barriers to return and return.
So the government is willing to use, for example, temporary exclusion orders to prevent the return of an Australian citizen from one of those camps who represents a security risk?
Senator, all options are open to the government, depending on the assessment of the agencies. For
my comfort, tell me that specifically includes a temporary exclusion order, which I asked about.
It does, Senator.
Yes, Senator.
Okay, thank you. Chair, Chair, I caught you out of your chair.
Senator,